This is Real News Media TV, coverage you can trust. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates. Student stabbed at St. Beth's School. Picture of pen lodged in forehead hits social media. A student at Magati High School in St. Elizabeth had to seek medical attention after he was stabbed with a pen that lodged in his forehead on Monday morning. A picture of the student with the pen protruding from his forehead has been released on social media. Efforts to speak with the principal of the school proved futile, but Superintendent Dwight Daly, commanding officer for the St. Elizabeth Police, confirmed the stabbing. Superintendent Daly said the incident occurred after two boys got into a confrontation. He said upon learning of the incident, a police team went to the school to make inquiries. He said criminal action will not be taken against the student accused of doing the stabbing. Both the parents are at the school meeting with officials. They rather to keep it at the school level and choose not to get the police involved, he told the news. If no report is made, there is very little we can do. Face-to-face learning returned last month following a directive from the Ministry of Education. 8 charged with breaches of the Spirit Control Act identified. Police have laid charges against the 8 people who were arrested during a pre-dawn operation by a joint police-military team in Old Harbor, St. Catherine on Monday, February 7. The individuals have been identified as Richard Gregory Sr., otherwise called Boswell, a 45-year-old vendor of Old Harbor Road, St. Catherine; Orlando Gregory, otherwise called Doulas, a 50-year-old carpenter of Gregory Park, Portmore, St. Catherine; Shadiki Gregory, otherwise called Salo, 30-year-old of Old Harbor Road, St. Catherine; Brandon Gregory, otherwise called Popo, 20-year-old of Richmond, St. Mary; Jordan Gregory, otherwise called Sham, 22-year-old unemployed of Richmond, St. Mary; Richard Gregory Jr., 19-year-old of Johns Road, St. Catherine; Oshin Gregory, otherwise called Lisa, a 24-year-old shopkeeper of Dempsey Pen, St. Catherine; Amoy Palmer, otherwise called Abby, 21-year-old of Gordon Pen, St. Catherine. All have been charged with breaches of the Copyright Act, the Excise Duty Act, and the Spirit Control Act, and are scheduled to appear before the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Court on March 29, 2022. Reports are that between the hours of 5 a.m. and 8:30 a.m., a team of police and military personnel entered the premises where they uncovered an illegal bottling operation with counterfeit liquor. The team discovered hundreds of bottles, labels of popular local liquor brands, a bottling machine, and several cases of raw material. The team also seized approximately $218,000 in cash. As the investigations continue, citizens are being warned to take precautions and examine the labels of packages when making purchases and use licensed retailers and wholesalers. 5 wanted men captured in Kingston Western Division. The police are reporting that 5 wanted men have been captured by the Kingston Western Police over the last 2 weeks. The men were wanted in connection to several serious crimes committed within the division. They are 28-year-old Rasheen Samuels, otherwise called Sonson, of Mackenzie Drive, Kingston 14. He has been charged with 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of shooting with intent. Romario Powell, 27, otherwise called Rory or Worridem, of no fixed address. He was charged jointly with Samuels with 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of shooting with intent. Jermaine Brown, 24, otherwise called Do the Mat, of Pink Lane, Kingston 14. He was charged with escaping custody. 21-year-old Jermaine Burham, otherwise called Price Wright, of 4th Street, Trenchtown, Kingston 12. He was charged with rape and burglary. 24-year-old Colin Townsend, otherwise called Jojo, of Jonestown, Kingston 12. He was charged with rape. The police say cops will continue to crack down on guns, gunmen, and gangs. Meanwhile, the police are asking citizens with information on criminal activities to contact the Police Emergency Communication Center at 119, Crime Stop at 311, Operation Kingfish at 811, or the nearest police station. Man charged for stealing $10 million from Portmore vendor. A man accused of stealing $10 million from the home of a vendor has been charged with housebreaking and larceny. Tyrese Wright, 22, who is also a vendor, appeared in the St. Catherine Parish Court today, where he was granted $20,000 bail and ordered to report to the police once per week. His attorney, Odain Marston, declined to comment on the allegations, citing the ongoing police investigation, but said his client will be exonerated. "We are confident that at the trial of this matter, if we get to that point, the accused will be vindicated as he is innocent of the charges," said Marston. It's alleged that on February 5, the female vendor left her home in Portmore, St. Catherine, with the $10 million hidden under a bed. When she returned, the money was gone. She raised an alarm, and according to the allegations, residents reported that they saw Wright enter the premises. It's reported that he was handed over to the police by the complainant and other residents. JTA accepts wage offer, expects payment no later than March. The Jamaica Teachers Association has given the Finance Ministry until the end of March to pay increased salaries and benefits to its members. 68% of JTA members voted on Monday to accept the 4% wage offer. The teachers will also get a book and a software allowance of $40,000 per year. JTA President Winston Smith told the news that while the teachers were not satisfied with the offer, they felt it was the best the government could do at this time. He is adamant, however, that all outstanding sums related to the new pay scale and the fringe benefits must be paid before the start of the new financial year, making the bold declaration that no one red cent should be carried over into the fiscal year 2022-2023. Policewoman at center of U.S. lottery scam case was not on JCF radar. The Counterterrorism and Organized Crime Investigations Branch says the policewoman now at the center of a lottery scam probe in the U.S. was not on the radar of the Jamaica Constabulary Force. Shellyan Allen, 42, was arrested by a U.S. Homeland Security investigation team shortly after arriving in Fort Lauderdale, Florida on Friday. She has been charged with wire fraud, mail fraud, and drug trafficking. According to U.S. court documents, the 18-year police veteran, who has been suspended from the JCF, was under surveillance since 2020 and made frequent trips to the United States. Asked whether the JCF had a prior knowledge of the policewoman's involvement in lottery scamming, Assistant Commissioner of Police in charge of CTOC, Anthony McLaughlin, said the police had not been aware. Lottery scamming is a clandestine activity and you don't have to be involved. And when I say involved, I mean making the calls. Or even if you're making the calls, it is not something that somebody will readily see because you can go just about anywhere. As I said, people rent hotel rooms, go to an Airbnb, or find somewhere private where they can make these calls, so it's not something that you will readily see, he revealed. ACP McLaughlin argued that it is easier to identify men involved in lottery scamming than women because the change in their lifestyle is more evident. It is a cultural thing. We tend to look at the male, what they drive, and it's easy to see when they transition from poverty into some wealth. But we tend to overlook the women because it's quite natural for women to dress nicely and to drive a nice car if they work, so it's difficult sometimes to identify the women who are involved in crime, he explained. Court documents say numerous accounts tied to the policewoman's illegal organization revealed that 17 victims across the U.S. were scammed of US $1.69 million. In a separate incident, another woman was arrested last week during an operation carried out by JCF's Lottery Scam Task Force in Cambridge, St. James. The police seized several lead sheets and other lottery scamming paraphernalia. Last year, the Lottery Scam Task Force carried out 166 operations and raids resulting in the arrest of 54 people. Mackenzie to tour flood-damaged parishes. Minister of Local Government and Rural Development Desmond Mackenzie will on Wednesday tour the flood-damaged parishes of St. Anne, St. Mary, and Portland. According to a statement from the ministry, the tour is to assess conditions and pave the way for further interventions to assist affected parishioners. Mackenzie will be joined by Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries Pernell Charles Jr. and Matthew Samuda, Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. It will also include the members of Parliament from the constituencies in these parishes, mayors of the parish capitals, and the representatives from several agencies, including Varden Donner, Senior Director of Project Implementation at the National Works Agency. The Ministry of Labor and Social Security is already active on the ground in providing relief supplies, and one of the objectives of the tour is to see what more can be done to complement the work being done, Mackenzie said. Our visit will also help us to quickly devise targeted interventions to help the affected sectors in these parishes, such as agriculture. We will commence tomorrow's activities in Portland, then move on to St. Mary and then to St. Anne, he added. This administration is highly cognizant of the disruption that the rains have caused in these parishes, and our response has and will continue to reflect joint-up government in the delivery of support to our citizens, the minister said. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates.